So now we're going to get into our special right over here of international markets, of which Arvi, who is our head cycle analyst, does all of our trading ideas. Just fantastic work always from Arvi, and one of the real experts of cycle analysis in the world, and we're really proud to have him bringing you these international markets. I just want to make a note that you'll see here in this brief little slide to start out that the full video will be available to the level 2 membership, level 2, 3, or 4, all 10 international equity markets with this cycle analysis on it. So if you want to become a level 2 member, you can write for our special to Matt at AskSlim.com. Here we go. You're going to really enjoy this. This is just a short clip with the Nifty50 and the German DAX.
Let's go ahead and look at the Nifty. So this is the Nifty50. What we have on the Nifty are these very nice longer dominant cycles here, and if I zoom out on this chart, you can see how clear these cycles have been. We add in, as I mentioned earlier, these dotted black lines, so you can see how the key weekly lows formed relative to the idealized timing, which means relative to the troughs of these cycle brackets that we have drawn on the chart, and they have been really very clear going back many years. If we zoom in, let's go ahead and see what's going on now. So the Nifty is in a corrective period here on the intermediate term. The next key low is due 531 to 823. You can see that our weekly momentum is also negative, so all of this is lining up for further downside in our view. On the downside, we have an intermediate 38.2 and an intermediate 50 at 13,943 to 13,483. That's really the zone that we would look for on the downside into this next corrective low. If we shift over to the daily chart, you can see these beautiful daily cycles here in the Nifty with this dominant daily cycle, which is then broken up into these minor half cycles. And what I've done is I've drawn in how these dominant daily cycles have formed over time, and I've added in these green arrows to show that we've had a positive cycle. What does a positive cycle look like? That's when you have a cycle high that's higher than the prior cycle high and a cycle low that's higher than the prior cycle low. And under those conditions, you look for a new swing high to form in that next cycle. And that has happened with each of these cycles going back to late last year. Now we have our first sign of change here. I want to highlight that we have now violated this key cycle low, which says that we are now in a negative cycle very likely, and we will look for lower prices overall into this next corrective low. Now the next short-term low is due 5.6 to 5.19, and if I zoom in a little bit here, you can see that there is a mid-cycle low due, right? So we're looking for a bear flag to form and for this to roll back down on the downside. Now on the upside, we are looking for the Nifty to test this 14,604 to 14,883 zone. That's really where we would look for this to fail and then roll back down. Also note that our slim ribbon is now configured negatively, as you can see here. So let's go ahead and shift over to Europe, and we will look at the German DAX. So this is the German DAX. What we have here on the weekly time frame is a dominant weekly cycle, which is then broken up into these minor half cycles. And these dominant cycles, if I zoom out on the German DAX, have been very clear. Note this beautiful head and shoulders that formed here, and we almost got right to that target here back in late 2018. So a picture perfect and a very clear head and shoulders that formed there. If we zoom in, let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on now. So we are in a very bullish overall mode here with super positive upside momentum here on the weekly time frame, as you can see right there. We are looking for a high to form relatively shortly here. We are also testing some key intermediate term levels here from 15,345 to 15,802. We would really look for the DAX to not really get through that zone and then to start to roll back down on the downside into this next forecasted timing. The next forecasted low on the weekly time frame is due 525 to 726. If we shift over to the daily chart, which is on the right here, you can see that we have been tracing out positive cycle after positive cycle in a very bullish overall trend that you can see here on the weekly time frame. We were due to form a short-term low. The short-term low was due 414 to 54. You can see that we had this pullback, and we are now likely in this short-term rising phase here in the German DAX. Now, I've added in this note, watch for an early high in this next cycle. And that is because of where we are in this dominant weekly cycle. And given that we have already had the move that we have had and are testing these key levels, the odds would favor that an early high would form here on the daily chart, and we would see some rollover back on the downside. So we'll be watching for an early high right around this early to mid-May time period. So just keep that time period on the radar. If we get a rally here, and then we get a failure that takes out this daily cycle low, that would say this overall bullish cycle structure that we have seen here is now over with, and we are really setting up for further downside. So this is a very key chart to be watching here, and that's why I wanted to take a few minutes to highlight it. So
Thank you, Arvi. That was absolutely great work. Really a thrill to have you doing these international markets. I know that our members and a lot of people from these other countries are going to be happy to see that. I just want to remind all of you, especially those from India, because we have so many followers there, that we're making this available today as a special. And the next time we'll show India on YouTube or in the Market Week show will probably be several months down the road. So please do consider becoming a level 2, 3, or 4 member, and then you'll have this every 2 weeks where we do these updates on these 10 international markets. So great work by Arvi, just superb, and really glad that he is doing these now. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of people that are members that also will be very happy.